Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and I've got Jayson with me as well.
Hey.
And tonight we're going to give you a beginner's guide to Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin and et al. This is a thing I did a couple of years ago for Star Trek, all by myself. I brought Jayson in because he is kind of a Ranger expert, maybe,
Nice.
or at least to some degree. You really know your Power Rangers. And he knows a lot of the stuff that I don't know quite as well.
Yeah,
and
I think together we're a Power Rangers expert.
Yeah, whereas Star Trek I can do completely on my own. This I've got major blind spots.
Yeah, I couldn't do the Star Trek thing. But I think this is a really cool idea, and I would like to watch through the Star Trek thing just to see what you said. Because I jumped around a little bit, and it seemed like a really, really good video.
Oh, thanks, man.
And, like, I saw, like, as you were making it and all the notes you were doing, and it was like, whoa. But the big thing is, like, people were asking for this a lot with Power Rangers, and it was like, oh, wait, I should think about that. Like, how would I do it? And then you did the same thing with this that you do with Star Trek, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is pretty good. So, let's do this.
Thanks. Well, Jason's going to help fill in tonight. He's got some helpful suggestions about particularly stuff after Zordon era, and he's going to help out especially with the series breakdown that we'll do a little bit later. We're going to be thorough, but we're going to try not to be too like overwhelming and confusing, because there's a lot of Power Rangers. Yeah. There's 20 series, maybe
More than that.
a little bit more. I mean, there's 30 seasons.
Yeah,
I guess
right.
it's around 20, maybe 18, if you count the Neo Saban stuff as one season for each 2-season show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think about that sometimes where I'm like, 30 Power Ranger shows. Well, not really. It's 30 years of Power Rangers.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, the only reason I'm doing this stream is because I've been getting a lot of requests for it lately.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that this might even be like not really doable. I was concerned when folks were pitching this. Were like, hey, do the thing you did with Star Trek, but with Power Rangers. I was like, that seems like maybe a pointless exercise, because I've always looked at Power Rangers as a thing that you had to grow up with to really appreciate, and so much of people's enjoyment of that show going back to it as adults is, of course, nostalgia, and is kind of like reliving their childhood, and still, bringing back to it. I've always said this with Ninja Turtles to some degree too, particularly like the '87 cartoon. You bring your own imagination to it. You got to use your imagination a bit to really enjoy it. And so, even more than I've talked about this with Austin, than some like '80s cartoons like a Transformers or maybe even a He-Man or something. It's hard to go. Maybe He-Man's more in this category, but like a Transformers or a G.I. Joe or something are maybe easier to get into now, not just because there's more kind of teenage and adult material for it, but because even at its start, it was maybe a little bit less formulaic and a little more character complex than something like Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Power Rangers initially aimed very much at like 7-8-year-olds.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, there's a ton of it, and I could take you through the shows, and I could tell you, the stuff that I like, and I can tell you, like, if you're a kid, what a good introduction would be. But if you're 35 years old,
Yeah.
Are you really going to actually sit down and watch this and get anything out of it?
Yeah.
And I had some pushback on it, and I had people come back and say, well, I've watched a few episodes here and there and kind of enjoyed it, and it's overwhelming. There's so much of it. I don't really know where to start. And so I was like, okay, I'll make the attempt.
Yeah.
I'll try it. But it's more complicated than Star Trek even, because there are, first of all, different continuities. It's not all in the same world like Star Trek is. And secondly, Power Rangers is a thing that is enjoyed supplementary to other stuff quite a bit. And I'm going to talk about that later when we get into different approaches to get into Power Rangers. Where I will freely admit that as a big Ranger fan, it's not so much about going back and watching the shows for me these days. Like I do, occasionally, but I'm not. But like I have it on more in the background than like I'm sitting down and actively watching it like I would a Star Trek. Like I don't study Power Rangers the way I study Star Trek.
For me, it depends on the show. I think at this point there are some shows that there are some Power Ranger shows somehow I don't know how
Palpatine return.
they fly now. Somehow when I was a kid, starting from like age 4 all the way to like 12 maybe, I watched through all of Power Rangers from Mighty Morphin to RPM, and then going back I've probably watched all of Power Rangers at this point, except for probably Dino Charge. I don't think I've seen all of Dino Charge.
But you think even the rest of Neo-Saban?
Yeah.
You've seen all of Dino Fury?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other difference I was going to say for me between this and Star Trek is I've seen all of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Until you get to New Trek. But
yeah, but there are some shows that I would watch all the way through again, and I would sit down and watch it. And there are some Power Ranger shows that just don't hold my attention as much now.
Yeah.
Like not being a kid.
So Hayden says, I finally, and Hayden's a friend of ours. He's been a patron for a long time. Hi, Hayden. We've played Heroes of the Grid with Hayden, the board game. Awesome. I fundamentally disagree with that premise. We're not friends anymore. He disagrees. I would say that applies to Mighty Morphin specifically, but the good stuff is good no matter what. And we kind of have to agree to disagree on that, or I would say a lot of adults that are not familiar with this kind of kids entertainment would find it difficult, I think, even to sit through some of the smarter later shows. You cannot sit down and look at even an SPD on the same level of as Star Trek. For Power Rangers, it's very sophisticated, and the acting is much better, and it's much smarter written, and all of that. But if you've never seen like Japanese tokusatsu stuff, if you've never seen a Power Rangers, any of that kind of thing, it still does to some degree play by its own rules. Yeah, I think, and I try to have some perspective because I grew up on this stuff and I'm able to kind of adjust myself. But I'm telling you, I have tried to introduce Power Rangers to other people, like my wife, who just doesn't get it. Yeah. And there's bits of it that she thinks is fun, like the big fights and Zord battles and all of that. Like she's fine with all that. Mm-hmm. It's when you get to the drama that she goes, it's just badly written. Yeah, like I don't care. Yeah. And Power Rangers is overall kind of badly written. And so but some of them much less so than others. And I would argue, and this is where it gets complicated because I try not to let my biases get in the way too much. Where I'm like, I think SPD and RPM, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to these shows later. Yeah. This is Disney era stuff. This is in the 2000s. So much later than Mighty Morphin and before you get to the 2010s Neo-Saban stuff. I think those shows are like really well written for Power Rangers. Yeah. But I don't know if I could put them...
Comparing it to anything else, it's like...
Yeah. Like
it's better than VR Troopers.
Is SPD in the category of like a CW show, like first, second season Arrow, or is it even not even quite to that level?
Okay, well,
I don't know. I find some of these things difficult to compare at some point.
Yeah, it's probably better than fifth season Flash.
So the first thing, yes, but a lot of things are. Now we're getting to like turbo territory. So yeah. I want to start with some disclaimers. This opening kind of category will take a little while because there's more of this to do than there is for something like Star Trek. Because I think I can find that Star Trek episode that would appeal to most everyone or most people. Yeah. Not that there is one that does that, but like I think I can find your Star Trek episode. I think I can find you watching right now. I think I can find your Star Trek episode, even if you're not a big science fiction person, even if you wouldn't like delve into it really hard and it becomes your favorite thing. I cannot do that with Power Rangers.
What would be the Star Trek episode for a Power Rangers fan?
Something in Voyager.
Yeah. I think that.
I would say season 4 just in general. Scorpion is my answer.
Okay.
Scorpion is the Star Trek episode for Power Rangers fans. Okay, so here, but like if you like, and that's the thing is, I know Power Rangers fans that could not care less about Star Trek. Whose this is not here nor there. Whose favorite series is Space. You cannot tell me that I cannot find your in for Star Trek. Okay, here are my disclaimers. First of all, except for the Boom Comics, it's always a kid's show. Even when it gets darker for Power Rangers, you got to look at it on that level. That's who it's aimed for. And until you get to Neo Saban, the later Disney stuff is more aware of the audience that has been there forever. So Dino Thunder becomes less of a kid's show. SPD becomes less of a kid show. Even Mystic Force, maybe slightly less of a kid show. Slightly, in places. These things are allowed to get, Jungle Fury, allowed to get a little darker. But for these shows, right?
Yeah. And it's more, I think it's more nostalgia, and especially once you get to Neo Saban, this does it a lot, where it's like it's a little more sophisticated for adults, but at the same time it's nostalgia for adults, which means the writing is still Power Rangers.
Yes.
Like, it still is Power Rangers.
And the 30th anniversary special is the perfect example of that.
Yeah.
It's just quintessential for what you're saying. Yeah. We got a super chat. 85th Batman fan is a name I don't recognize. Hi there. $2 super chat. Power Rangers is more complicated than DC Comics. And yet has never had a full-on crisis, really. I don't know that Power Rangers is exactly more complicated so much as it looks that way if you don't understand the fundamental rules of Super Sentai, which is every season it's a completely new universe. And if we want to, we can do crossovers where we just say there's a multiverse and they all interconnect, simply because we own the rights to all of our own stuff. It would be like if every year Batman started over with a different person to the Batsuit, and then for your 10th anniversary you went, wouldn't it be cool if an interdimensional portal came open and all the Batman showed up?
Yep.
Which we also do quite a bit with Batman. But
so where are you in the rankings of the Batman fans? This guy's the 85th. Are you?
Well, I think it's just because that's like the anniversary. See, I think 85th is even no offense, and I appreciate the super chat. I think that's even a little bit arrogant. There's a lot of Batman fans. And no, I mean I want to say that I'm probably 889th. Like, there are probably 888 people that are more obsessive Batman fans even than I am. That's how big.
Only 880.
I'm a pretty big Batman fan. So you're saying I'm too pompous to even say that?
To be fair.
He wants me to say 8. Yeah, if I turned my camera, everybody would go, oh, okay, now he can have the 889th spot. Yes. Anyway, back to disclaimers.
Yes.
It's campy and cheesy and can't be held to traditional narrative standards. No. I kind of made that point already. And there's always going to be some degree of that campy and cheesy factor, even when you get to the dark dystopian RPM series. Yeah. They're still gonna do silly one-liners in their costumes.
I'm Scottish.
Like and they get self-aware and they start making fun of it by that point. Yeah. But you're still gonna have like a sequence where we morph, and for no reason at all, they kind of give you a reason in that show, but there's a big explosion behind everyone, and then they have to yell something like Power Rangers or whatever our show is forever, or like there is goofy, ridiculous, how could anyone possibly say that with a straight face? Thank God they're wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
Things that nothing else can get away with.
Yeah.
And you have to adjust yourself to that. It's also important to keep in mind that Power Rangers is always a toy commercial. And again, you got to kind of use your imagination. So it's more about the fun costumes and gadgets and vehicles and wild nutso monsters and all of that stuff than it even is about telling a story. And we in early Power Rangers, especially Mighty Morphin, the drama in it is very much more about, oh no, this character is losing his powers, than it is any actual good interpersonal conflict.
We lost the Megazord. Oh no.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That's where your that's where your melodrama really comes from in Power Rangers, and then it does get more sophisticated in other shows.
Yeah.
As you continue, but that is where it starts, and that's what the kids were invested in, and that's how children play with action figures.
It's also a lot of because it's a kid's show, it's a lot of learning lessons and that kind of thing. And here's the big thing to sum it all up, like the end of a Tick episode or something.
Yes.
Where it's like, this Power Ranger learned something. And,
yeah.
This is helpful for the kids. And that can be good for adults too. Depending on what.
But it's not usually insanely thought provoking,
right?
Or anything. It'll be things you've thought about and you've seen 100,000 times, and they'll be kind of preachy PSAs, and it'll be kind of shoved down your throat. And I think the best way to, as an adult, really get into this stuff is to look at all of the really cool original trappings of it, and imagine all of the smarter stuff you could do with it. And you wish that the shows did that in the first place, maybe. But then once you get to the Boom comics, you actually do start adapting some of it to stories that are more traditionally compelling. Yeah. Right? And I'll talk about some of that later on. But the nice thing is, at this point, the shows can be a jumping off point for other media. And I think that's one of the easiest ins for a lot of adults. Yep. Now, if you just want to binge it like it was originally, meant to be watched, I say meant to be watched, it wasn't really meant to be binged initially. But if you want to just watch it as a show, like it was originally intended, more power to you. But I think a lot of adults coming to it, and this is going to sound really apologetic for a thing that I really do love. Not all of it. But it's going to be a thing that might be easier to sink your teeth into and get really invested in if you use it as more of a backdrop for either doing your own thing with it, like role-playing, like the Power Rangers board game, or for better stories in the Boom comics that use all of this as just back matter. Continuity and rules are extremely loose. If you think something doesn't make sense, you're not missing anything. It doesn't make sense. There's a ton of that in Power Rangers, and I think the more I've watched of it, the more that's some of the charm of it. It is so much fun talking about everything that doesn't work with Power Rangers. Embrace and enjoy the flaws. Because that's a lot of the most fun stuff for Power Rangers for me. You and I debate undebatable stuff with Power Rangers all the time. Where it's like, how does this work? They've not thought about it, but by God, we're going to.
Oh man, I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil things in Power Rangers.
Well, especially it being a beginner's guide, I want to try not to spoil too much.
I'm not going to try to spoil, but there are some stupid things in Power Rangers.
Well, I mean, without giving too much away, what were you thinking?
I was going to say the end of Countdown to Destruction.
Oh, sure.
Because there's a really stupid thing in that.
So he's talking about the last episode of Space, which was a culmination of everything up to that point. It was supposed to be the end of the show. And, 25 years later, it was still on as of a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But, like I said, continuity is really loose. We don't have, we have really ambiguous rules for everything.
Especially the Morphin Grid.
The Morphin Grid does whatever you want it to.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of actors that are very convincing in making it seem like the characters within the show know what they're talking about. But we're talking about particularly David Yost with Billy. But we're talking about technobabble on a level that Star Trek never went to. Senior Six, $2 super chat. Will you ever check out Voltron as it is related? Voltron's related in that it's tokusatsu-esque and is like kids in transforming robot, like robots that come together to make kind of a Megazord. I've never looked at that. I tried the Netflix show and I was surprised and I've only watched one episode of this, so I don't know if this is indicative of the whole show, but I tried it once, and I thought it looked great, but I was surprised by the amount of potty humor in it.
Oh.
And so I couldn't get into it because of that. And maybe I just happened to be one scene that had a lot of that, and there's not very much of it in that show. But that surprised me, and I couldn't get excited about it. But Voltron looks a lot, the Netflix show, looks like I kind of want a animated Power Rangers
Sure.
to look. And so I wanted to get into that because it could have been sort of like more Power Rangers.
Yeah.
The stories for Power Rangers are often formulaic, repetitive, and don't flow logically. Characters are not always going to act like real people. It plays by its own rules, and then very often doesn't seem to have any.
It's a live action Saturday cartoon. Whoa. Saturday morning cartoon.
Right.
Like, it is. They just didn't have the budget for anything really, but they didn't have the budget for animation, so that's
I thought you were going to say they didn't have the budget for logic and sense.
no, they didn't have that either.
And again, I know I'm going to keep kind of putting in this caveat. Some shows are less that way than others.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we'll talk about which ones are less
Yes.
that way than others. But yeah, this is the big thing with Power Rangers is, again, because it's a kid show, it's the same formula for every episode, and it's some like unmorphed drama thing, and then there's a fight scene with some putties, and then there's more unmorphed stuff, and then there's a monster fight, and then it gets big, and then they fight him with the Megazord, and then the end.
And not every episode does that, even in Mighty Morphin, and eventually they get tired of that, and that's when the show gets more interesting.
Yeah.
At least, I don't want to just sit here and review shows, I guess, but like, you start getting more like serialized storytelling and more somewhat for that show complicated storytelling when the writers making it get really tired of that exact same formula every time. Yeah. And then again, as you move along, there's less of that, of it having to be that every single episode, where you're always going to have monsters and monsters getting big and Megazords, but not necessarily every episode. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll have like a long arc where it takes a while before you see that entire formula play out. The writing and acting, and I made this point earlier with kind of countering what Hayden said. And he had to get going, so bye Hayden, thanks for being here. But I've gotten written down here, the writing and acting are really good by like traditional narrative standards.
Yeah.
Most series, this is really important to understand about Power Rangers, because again, this is the big difference between something like Star Trek and Power Rangers, and something that's very unique in America, at least, to this franchise. Yeah. Most series stand alone and are in their own continuities and are only loosely connected to the whole. Some of them aren't even in the same dimension as Mighty Morphin.
Really only two. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter because there's, yeah.
Only two technically now, but there are shows that were intended to be their own standalone thing and then were roped in later.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Like Speed Rescue was totally its own world. Like Time Force did not have to be in the Mighty Morphin continuity. Yeah. I would argue that like a quarter of the shows are basically completely their own thing. And what makes them Power Rangers is that they have morphers and they morph.
And they're called Power Rangers.
They're called Power Rangers, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but the first four series are kind of interconnected, are the most interconnected that any show will be.
Yeah. And they're the only shows where you have to probably see the previous show.
Yeah. And then Lost Galaxy keeps like two things from the previous show.
We'll get it all.
And then after that, you're okay if you just watch it. Like,
so as I said a minute ago, for all of the reasons I just laid out, it's difficult to enjoy and get invested in Power Rangers if you didn't grow up with it. So if you make the attempt, don't feel bad if it's just not your bag and you can't get into it. it might just you might feel like you're just too old for it, and that's okay. And that's not to say that again, I sound like I'm what's the word I'm looking for? I not defensive, but I sound too apologetic for this show when I say that. But I think it's one of those things where, if you knew enough, somehow like you could download a bunch of information in your brain, and you already knew enough about the mythology of this that you could go to Boom and appreciate some of those stories. Like, there's probably maybe some Power Rangers for you somewhere here and there. But some people, I think it's just not likely to ever appeal to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, like, that's okay. Yeah. But it's just important to understand that it is a toy commercial first, and that it was always initially intended for, like, 7 and 8-year-olds. A good percentage of the interest for adults now is nostalgia, like I said earlier, and the depth we brought to it in our own play and conversations with friends. So much of the fun for Power Rangers is just talking about it.
Yeah.
Most fans have the 1 or 2 shows they grew up with and aren't as interested in the rest of it. The good news about that is you don't have to watch everything. Most diehard fans haven't even done that. There is, like, it's fun that you've seen almost everything. There is a really popular Power Ranger YouTuber named Este, who even himself, he's got 220, or he's got like 120,000 subscribers, and his videos do between 100 and 200,000 views. So he gets big numbers for Power Rangers content.
Yeah.
And the guy had never seen Lightspeed Rescue until he finally made a video about it a couple of years ago. There's a bunch of stuff he just doesn't know, and he hasn't kept up with the comics that hard. He's just jumped in here and there. Mm-hmm. So but he knows a ton about the shows he really knows. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to note that being a fan of Power Rangers, if you want to know all of it, is like being a fan of 20 different TV shows. Mm-hmm. There's nothing else like that that I can really think of.
No. Yeah, and I think that makes it a little overstimulating for people, where it's like,
yeah,
well, there are so many shows, and there's this person who likes this show and this person that likes this show, and I don't know what to do. And
I think that's why people wanted me to do this stream.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Because I can break down all the individual shows and be like, one of these might appeal to you if you can look past the cheese factor, or if that kind of thing is just fun for you. Thomas Lowe says, overlooking how cheesy and how childish the show is, you will enjoy it a lot better by doing that. And I think some people just can't do that.
Yeah.
Or don't want to. But we will suggest the shows that are the most like a traditional narrative that's not least common denominator.
Yeah.
That you can enjoy a little bit more on a like Star Trek level, or a Smallville or Arrow level.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So anyway,
if Smallville were a kid show, I would have liked it better.
So I wrote this. Like I said, good news, you don't have to watch everything. Most diehard fans haven't even done that. Bad news, it may take time to find your Power Rangers because of that. Because you're not going to sample everything. And if you're just now coming into it, obviously you weren't there when these things were aimed at you. And so now you got to backtrack and be like, what does the 8-year-old in me love from this? And what can the adult in me maybe even find appealing about one of these shows?
Yeah, well, and I think Power Rangers is probably the best for, I don't know how many people watching this have kids, but it would be really good for you to sit down with your kid and watch.
And I think that's a great point, and that's a good eyes in, and I think you're more likely to enjoy it if you've got a kid to sit down with.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of why I got back into it. The major elements that seem to grab most people, or that most grab people, are the costumes and aesthetic. So that's one thing to look at when you're trying to kind of choose your Power Rangers because a lot of this is superficial. So don't back away from the superficial things about it. If you go, this suit looks cooler than that suit, try that show first, maybe.
Because the rest of it probably doesn't matter depending on the show.
Team dynamics are very important.
Yes.
You may find that your Power Rangers is the one that just has the cast that you latch onto the best and that have the coolest dynamic between them. Villains are very important. A charismatic or a menacing villain.
Honestly, maybe the most important.
You may not even care for the cast that much, but if you really vibe with a Mesogog, like from Dino Thunder, or with a Rancic from Time Force,
Yep.
or Lord Zed, who's always been my favorite, and I've got a Lord Zed tattoo. Zed is my in for Power Rangers, or my biggest. If that show, if Rita, I'm gonna go this far. If Rita Repulsa is a fun villain,
Yep.
I love that voice. She's hilarious. But if Rita but that did not grab me as a kid, and because I wasn't a big fantasy person, just the kind of Wicked Witch of the West thing. I wasn't like a Wizard of Oz person. If Rita Repulsa had remained the main villain all the way through Mighty Morphin, I would probably not be a Power Rangers fan today. Zed was very important for me.
Yeah, well, and you started with season 2, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I come in when Zed is there in the first place.
Yeah.
I had seen a couple episodes before that, but I didn't become a fan until then, which kind of speaks to that. And I think music is also important, at least for Mighty Morphin. I've always said that that was some 30-40% of the popularity of that show, was that theme and Ron Wasserman's sound of rock music throughout the show. And that might, even as an adult, be a thing that helps you gravitate toward Mighty Morphin if no other show really grabs you.
There are people who I've seen who never got into a certain Power Rangers show because they didn't like the theme song.
Yeah, and I hear that a lot.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. Well, the guy who plays the Red Ranger in Dino Charge, you know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah. He's never seen RPM because he didn't like the theme
There
song.
are whole shows, he's so obsessed with theme songs, there are whole shows he just won't watch. Mm-hmm. He has a really good Power Rangers channel, by the way.
He has a really good Power Rangers.
I would also recommend him. I could even maybe do a video at some point. It wouldn't be an hour-long stream, but I could do a video at some point recommending Power Ranger YouTube channels.
Yeah. We should rank the theme songs.
That's a great idea.
That.
Yeah. Do you mean like a tier list or?
Yeah, a tier list.
Yeah, that's a great
He
idea.
did an unboxing of the last box for Here's the Grid.
I saw that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
One of his friends bought it.
Yeah.
Let him unbox it. So I will outline several strategies to get started, depending on your interests. But however you approach it, I do recommend watching at least a few episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And going back to the stream I did on Monday about, and if you're watching this because you're interested in getting into Power Rangers, you might not have watched that stream. But that was about what I call the Mighty Morphin problem, where there are a lot of Power Rangers fans that came to Power Rangers, especially after Mighty Morphin, that are just sick of that series and sick of that being the main thing that we're selling all the time, and they want their favorite thing to be represented more. And so some of those folks might boo me saying this, going, stay away from Mighty Morphin, it's not the best show. Story-wise, character-wise, acting-wise, production-wise, it absolutely isn't. It is for music, and it always will be. But the reason you want to look at some Mighty Morphin,
and also I really like the team dynamic in Mighty Morphin.
I do too, particularly in first season. Yeah. And I think first season has this weird anachronistic thing to it where it's really cheesy, but it feels, because of the music, because of just the overall attitude of how it's shot, and how in like the music mixed with the Sentai footage, it feels like it's got more bite to it than the rest of that show. So even though there's better story stuff going on in season 3, vibe-wise, feel-wise, you never got better than first season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I would argue that some of my favorite Power Ranger shows...
Even with Zed.
Yeah.
If only they had let him keep his teeth after the first few episodes.
Some of my favorite Power Ranger shows past Mighty Morphin, I really like because they feel so much like first season. Like Dino Thunder, like Jungle Fury.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like Lightspeed Rescue to an extent.
There's a reason that hit Wildfire the way it did.
Yeah.
At that time. But I think you want to look at some Mighty Morphin, even if that ends up not being your show. Not because it's the best, but because A, it's the initial foundation, and we return to it a lot with, trappings and stuff, but also there are a lot of reunion episodes and returning characters and things like that. And like lore-wise, it's just the foundation for a lot of stuff. If you read the Boom comics, you have to have it. And obviously, like some of that is because the Boom comics are called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers initially, but they go to other stuff besides Mighty Morphin. But they're building a lot on the lore for Mighty Morphin, like the Altarian stuff, and they'll deal with Aquitar, and et cetera, et cetera. If you don't know Power Rangers, you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so it's the initial foundation. We often return to it, and B, it's what's most in the zeitgeist. You will understand the franchise best if you see its roots. And I think, by the way, Star Trek fans should do this with the original series as well. So I talked about this the other night, but I have this weird kinship when it comes to Power Rangers with original series Star Trek fans from the 60s. Where they saw Star Trek as Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And when TNG comes on, they go, well, that's not Star Trek. And I grew up harder on TNG in the 24th century stuff, and I never appreciated that. Like, I like TOS, but I'm like, well, obviously this is still Star Trek. And it still has that spirit. And in a lot of ways, it's better.
Yeah.
But I grew up with Mighty Morphin. I'm the 60s guy.
Yeah.
In this, right? I'm a beatnik when it comes to Power Rangers. And so I look at Mighty Morphin and I go, well, that's Power Rangers. And everything after it is kind of that, but less so. And I've mellowed on that. Mm-hmm. Over time, and I've come to appreciate it more in appreciated it as actually Power Rangers, your Time Force, your Lost Galaxy, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But a lot of the reason that it took me a while to understand that is because I didn't really get the Sentai thing, and that they changed every season, and we ended up ultimately just picking up where they were.
If they had kept the costumes from Z-Ranger, that would have been insane. Like throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
That would have been a very interesting alternate universe.
Well, it would have cost a lot more. I mean, you would have gotten to where we had to do all the footage.
Yeah.
It would have been season 3, but everywhere. Like, because season 3 we did a lot less Sentai footage.
Yeah. With
Mighty Morphin, but not to get too in the weeds with it, because this is supposed to be for people that don't know their Power Rangers.
I just want to talk about Power Rangers, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. But and I said this the other night too, but just in case you missed that stream, however, the big difference with TOS and TNG, DS9 then has this, right? Where DS9 starts to look like the Power, even though it's the same continuity, the Power Rangers thing, where it's like, well, it's kind of Power Rangers, but like now they're cops or something, or like they're time travel agents, like they're not going to high school. Original series to Next Generation, I lost some fans because it wasn't those characters, but it was still the same premise. It was still, we're in a starship exploring.
Yeah.
And Power Rangers very quickly stopped being that exact premise.
Yeah.
Okay. We're not in high school anymore. And anyway, I just wanted to make that point, that's a big difference with them. And so that's why I think it's maybe even more important that you look at some Mighty Morphin before you look at anything else. Whereas with Star Trek, you could start with TOS or TNG. I wouldn't start with DS9, I wouldn't start with the Voyager. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where, like, they are, premise-wise, the same thing. Mm-hmm. And Power Rangers doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Now, if you were going to start with, I'm getting too in the weeds already. If you were going to start with anything besides Mighty Morphin, it'd be Dino Thunder. But then that's weird because it's such a sequel show.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that. So just like with Star Trek, and again, Mighty Morphin might not end up being your show. And you might watch a few episodes or even one episode of that and go, and it's too dated and too 90s cheesy, and it's not really what I want. But again, you'll understand the whole franchise more if you do that. And you could say, well, there's lots of Power Rangers fans that didn't start with Mighty Morphin. Why do I have to start with Mighty Morphin? Well, you don't have to do anything. This is just my suggestion. But you know what the difference is? You know what the difference is? Mm-hmm. Those kids watched whatever was on when it was on. And you don't have that luxury. Nothing's on. Which means I can't tell you which show to start with besides Mighty Morphin because... Well, and like we'll list them out, and you can pick a different one if you want to. But my suggestion is gonna be Mighty Morphin because it's the foundation for the whole thing. And every other show, it's just gonna depend on who you are, and that's why. So with Star Trek, I said if I have to pick just one episode to start you on, and then you can jump wherever else you want to jump. With Star Trek, I said Best of Both Worlds.
Yep.
With Next Generation. In a similar fashion with Power Rangers, and they have some similarities even, I'm going to say Green with Evil.
Yep.
If you only ever see one thing from Mighty Morphin and then you jump off and go to a bunch of other things, watch Green with Evil. It's going to be like seeing a Power Rangers TV movie. It's 5 parts, so it's longer, but and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. That's part of what's fun about it. But it's the most iconic episode. It introduces Tommy. He's the evil Green Ranger. It gives you that whole thing. If you've ever heard anybody talk about Power Rangers, you know about Tommy and his being the evil Green Ranger. And you get that whole saga, and you get all the important trappings. You get your Megazord fights. You get all the major side villain characters. You get a big Goldar fight. You get Goldar fighting. I think there's a giant Goldar fight in that.
Yep.
In Scorpina's there, but you get the Jayson versus Goldar stuff. I would argue that 80% of the most iconic stuff in Mighty Morphin is in Green with Evil, whether it started there or not.
Yeah.
And that was the show, like with Best of Both Worlds, that really caught the world on fire and got a lot of people more excited about that show.
Yeah.
And so I think it just works.
I agree.
So start there. And then if you watch that and you go, I'm really curious to see what they did later because I'm just not gelling with like the 90s aesthetic or whatever.
Sure.
You can jump around to any other the other shows we're going to be talking about. But if you want to keep going, a kind of small primer of some of the most important episodes in that show would be Doomsday, which was initially supposed to be the 2-part finale for the season. It was too popular, so they actually kept going, and they made what I've always called the Back 20, which is mostly a bunch of really pointless, not very good episodes.
We love the Back 20.
But Doomsday has the most epic, most exciting Megazord fight stuff and just like end of the world almost scenario with Cyclopsis and all of that. It's just wonderful. So check that out. Green Candle is more Tommy drama. The Mutiny, which introduces Lord Zed. There's too much ATV racing, but if you can ignore that...
That is an example of... the Green Candle is an example of the drama is losing powers. That's...
the power transfer, which brings in the 3 Rangers that replace Jayson and Trini and Zach, and then you'll know who they are for like the 95 movie. And then Ninja Quest, which is the show's version, basically, of the 95 movie. And those episodes give you a lot of the big mythology stuff. Later on, I'm going to give you a whole... a suggestion of a whole list of episodes through the entire Zoran era that is pretty comprehensive for all of the mythology and lore. And I'll rattle them off pretty quick when I get there, and I'll put them in the description later. I haven't gotten to that yet. But if you get really into Zordon era and you decide that that's your in for Power Rangers, and especially if you want to know as much as possible about the lore without having to watch every single one-off episode, because it's important to note that Mighty Morphin has a ridiculous number of episodes compared to the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because they started with a 60-episode season. And then 2 and 3 still have like 40 or something. So like they're very long. There's a ton of one-off episodes that are skippable if you just... It's a very X-Files situation where you have your Monster of the Week episodes and then you have your Mythology episodes.
Sorry, did we say White Light?
White Light I did not put... Yes, no,
You put
I
it there,
wrote it
you
down,
didn't
but I
say
forgot
it.
to say it. Yeah, Mutiny and then White Light. Yes, that's important. Thanks for mentioning that, 5590ERX. And, of course, there's other stuff, and I will get to those later, but those are like the 5 that I'd say look at if you just want a real basic primer, and so that you've seen some of the big, important, iconic characters. You get your Ninjor and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I would maybe even throw, I don't know, I could almost throw like Master Vial and the Metallic Armor in there.
Yeah. Oh, and the Tom Oliver episode. What's that episode? What's the one?
That's on my list later.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Is that the one with the Wizard of Deception? Yeah. That. There's a lot of Green Ranger Tommy drama. Okay. We can also suggest some classic one-offs for popular monsters, and stuff like that. If you want to know what some of the big iconic imagery is about in Power Rangers that you've seen in other places, especially like if you get into games and stuff, and you don't care as much about the lore. And so there is the Pumpkin Rapper episode, which is Trick or Treat. Thanks. High Five is Bones. Some of these are monsters that, like, maybe you saw Little Power Rangers when you were growing up, and you've seen some of these monsters, or you just see them merchandised. Or again, if you get into the board game or into the fighting game, Battle for the Grid. Well, actually, Battle for the Grid doesn't have any one-off monsters. But I think, I don't know if the phone game does either. There's a lot of older Power Ranger stuff that has a lot of these monsters in it that you've probably seen in stuff, like the Fighting Edition game on Super Nintendo, and some of the side-scrolling beat-em-ups and stuff like that. But anyway, so you've got I'll just rattle these off. Again, pick any one or 2 or 3 of these if you just want a one-off episode that's the formula of Mighty Morphin that also has an iconic monster in it. Yeah. I'll just throw these out real quick. High Five for Bones, a pressing engagement for King Sphinx. He was really popular for merchandising. Food Fight with Pudgy Pig. I don't like that episode, but Pudgy Pig was very popular. I Guy is I Guy. Peace, Love, and Woe, which somehow I've done like 3 commentaries on. I don't understand that. But that's Madame Woe. She's in the starter box for the board game.
So is Bones.
Yes, Bones is in there too. Football Season is Rhino Blaster, which I forgot. He's in the board game, and the main reason I put Football Season in there is just because I think that episode's really funny.
That episode's freaking hilarious.
It's really hilarious. Wannabe Ranger is Primitor. 2 for 1 has this is season 2, has Lip Syncer and Pursehead. Lip Syncer is in the Fighting Edition on Super Nintendo, one of my favorite monsters. Zed's Monster Mash, just for a bunch of monsters that come back in one episode. Zed Waves is just a really fun episode where Zed takes over everybody's minds with a monster who's a radio disc jockey.
Yeah, Beamcaster.
And is made out of a microphone. Putty on the Brain, where the Rangers, this is a little earlier, where the Rangers just see everyone as putties.
I don't like that episode.
The writers were clearly getting bored at that point, and that's why I think that episode's really fun. And then Jason's favorite Mighty Morphin one-off episode.
Rocky just wants to have fun. Pachinko Head.
I threw that in for you, Jason.
Yay!
With the Pachinko Head monster.
Yeah.
Give me just a second. Give me just a second. If I mute one of us, I mute all of us.
So that episode's really funny because It's already really funny because it's just a pachinko themed episode, and it's like, why? But
Because Japan.
yeah, because the Sentai episode that it comes from is actually really, really like important story wise, and it's called like "Oh No, a Big Guy" or something. I don't know.
That's awesome.
But it's really funny because that's the first appearance of their version of Serpentera.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so that's a really important episode of that show, of Die Ranger. And so
it was just this totally skippable episode of Mighty Morphin.
Mighty Morphin. I think that's hilarious.
But I wanted to, for at least Mighty Morphin, throw in some of those one-offs as, kind of like I did with the Star Trek series, as just like little ins if you want to sample it. And the other episodes that we mentioned at the beginning are much more for lore. Like I said, I'll do a full lore breakdown a little bit later. I'm sure I'll miss something that people will be like, why didn't you put that in there? But I went pretty comprehensive with it, I think. Okay, now what we're going to do, and I'm not doing one-off suggestions for every single series, because can we say this real quick? I don't know all of the shows the way I know Mighty Morphin.
Yeah.
But B, another big difference between Power Rangers and Star Trek is Star Trek doesn't have, for the most part, very good pilots, and I have to give you other places to jump in to grab you.
Yeah.
With Power Rangers, the place to start for every show is the pilot.
Yeah.
And again, I'm suggesting Green with Evil as just like, here's an introduction to all of Power Rangers. Now, you could just watch the first episode. You just watch Day of the Dumpster and then watch Green with Evil. But nobody at this point, especially if you've seen the 2017 movie, is going to watch Day of the Dumpster and get anything new from it. Like, it's, you know what the premise is. It's like Zordon, like, Rita comes out of a dumpster, and Zordon calls on 5 teenagers with attitude and gives them powers.
Yeah.
And then the juice bar shakes, and then they get their powers, and then they go fight, and then they get very excited about crystals. And then Kimberly says not, and then the episode's over. And that's pretty much Day of the Dumpster. So like, you're not going to get a ton out of that unless you just have no idea what Power Rangers is at all. But every other show, you start with the pilot because it will. The most important thing is it will give you that team dynamic.
Yeah.
It will tell you, do you like these people together? Because I don't think there's any exception to this rule, Jason. Tell me if I'm wrong. Sure. I don't think there's one show that finds itself, except for maybe Turbo. What I mean
Turbo, is, yeah.
The issue with, but like, they basically have to restart that show. Yeah. The thing with Star Trek is, it would have that dilemma of it, especially with TNG. It doesn't understand what it is yet and has to really grow. Power Rangers doesn't do that.
And you could argue that with Mighty Morphin.
It's what you can. But again, in some ways, first season is still the best, even though it is and it isn't.
Yeah, but it has that same kind of thing where, like, there's a quality of I don't know if quality is the right word, but
it's consistent.
Yeah, but there's a quality of season 1 of TNG that is lost. And it's the same thing with lots of stories with the beginning of Death Note and stuff like that, where it's like there's a specific status quo that I really like. And it's the same thing with Mighty Morphin, except Mighty Morphin is just, it's all good.
Yeah, there are shows that maybe fall off to some degree. Where, like, I don't like Dino Thunder toward the end as much as I like it at the beginning. Although really? I think it comes back around, but really? I think there's a place where it kind of slumps in the middle. Do you not like the
2 White Rangers thing, or?
Yeah, some of that's good. I think part of the problem is just the contract thing with JD Ave.
Yeah, that thing sucks.
Where he disappears for a while.
Literally.
And like, I don't love. Yeah, and I don't love what we do with Zeltrax. And anyway, again, getting in the weeds with this again. Jason doesn't want to do this stream. He just wants to talk about Power Rangers. He's like, but Dad, it's Power Rangers week, and I'm finally on a show. But
Smitty.
What it doesn't do, I don't think. Tell me in the comments if you're into Rangers and you don't agree with this, and you can give me a good example, because I might be wrong about this. This might be hyperbolic, but I don't feel like Power Rangers really has that thing where we introduce characters at the beginning of the show and they don't really work together, and then later they finally are cool together. I think usually the dynamic for the whole show is there from the start. And now you could say you'll start with, like SPD or something. You'll start with some characters that don't really get along, and don't really like each other very much, and then there's a progression. There's development of those relationships, but I think you can always kind of see the initial inklings of that, where that's going to happen. You know where it's going. Sure. It's just, do you like these personalities, and do you like these people together?
Yeah.
If you don't from the pilot, you're probably not going to. I think.
Yeah.
I think so. Anyway, now what we're going to do, and I'm going to let Jayson run point on this, is we're going to take you through very briefly the shows. And again, I don't want to overwhelm people, so we're not going to get too in the weeds with each show. But the main reason we're doing this is so that you have a sense of what each show is about, if you want to sample one by itself, because, again, we are talking about like 20 different TV shows, and they almost all can be watched completely separately from the rest of it. And so that you know which ones are more interconnected than others, and so that you know which ones are more complex and serialized, and which ones are more kind of one-off episodes. And so let's go ahead and go through that. Yeah. And then we'll go through some strategies of getting into Power Rangers depending on your personality and your situation.
Yeah. So I counted in my head earlier 22.
22.
Shows. Not counting any seasons of those shows or anything.
Yeah.
And of course starts with Mighty Morphin, which is the longest Power Rangers show, and it's 3.5 seasons. And it's, I mean, you know, like we said, it's the classic. You should start with at least a couple episodes of that, and it's.
So you agree with that?
Yeah. 5 teenagers with attitude. There's this giant head in a tube named Zordon, and he's like, "I need teenagers," and then they stop this witch from taking over the Earth, and she's been in a dumpster for 10,000 years, and then she gets overtaken by Lord Zed, and then they get married. Okay, next.
That's what happens.
And there's a movie.
Which is non-canonical.
Yes. Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, see it.
Yeah, no, it's not canonical.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense, but...
Well, you know how you know? Because they remake it in the TV show.
Yeah.
Because no one in the show knows who Dulcea is. That's why. Dulcea is Zordon in the movie.
Yeah.
That's the big difference.
Dulcea is Ninjor.
What did I say?
You said Zordon.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I don't know why I said that. Dulcea is Ninjor. I don't know what I was talking about. You know what? Real quick. Yeah. You know what else makes the movie not canonical? Besides the fact that there's just suddenly a pig man there. Working with Zen Rita that was never there before. But I
forgot about that.
But you know what else makes that movie non-canonical? Because they've got the like Star Wars crawl at the beginning, and they've got Dulcea narrating.
Yeah.
And she says that Zordon always had these 6 Rangers.
Yeah.
And
no, you didn't.
there weren't always 6. There were 5.
Yep.
I mean, maybe the idea is that there were supposed to always be 6, and then a power coin went missing. I mean, maybe that was the idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
that movie would make you think that Tommy was there from Day of the Dumpster. Anyway, sorry.
You will be shocked after watching this movie that is the best one of the 3 movies that we have. Anyway, moving on to...
But Ivan Ooze is great.
Power Rangers Zeo, which is... an Alien
Mention
Rangers.
the Alien Rangers thing real fast.
Alien Rangers is... I said Mighty Morphin is 3.5 seasons. Alien Rangers is the 0.5 of season 3. They get turned into kids, and then this team of Power Rangers from another universe, they're like water-based, and they fight this like, pig guy? And
Hydro Hog.
Hydro Hog,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not great, but it's still Mighty Morphin.
But the important thing to mention about Alien Rangers is it's just the rest of season 3. So if you want to watch through Mighty Morphin, it's going to end on a cliffhanger. And
Yeah.
and depending on where you're streaming it, you might go, "Where's the rest of it?" It's Alien Rangers.
Yeah.
And just know that it's not great. There's good stuff in it,
Yeah.
but
Probably the lowest of Mighty Morphin.
yeah. I'm sad to say,
Yeah.
but because as a kid, I loved the Avatar, the Equestrian Rangers,
Yeah.
and I had a rude awakening coming back to it as an adult. It does not hold up as well, but it happens to be really important.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to watch all of it. Like, in my breakdown, I have 3 episodes of it. You don't need all of it. But if you're gonna watch the whole show, just know that is actually part of it.
Yes. And then we have Zeo. It's
Well, they're stronger than before.
They are, and so this is a continuation, I would say, of Mighty Morphin. Zordon's still there, and but they're fighting they have new suits, and they're in the power chamber instead of the command center, because watch the end of Alien Rangers to find out why. But they're fighting this machine empire, which is kind of it's a bunch of British robots. Anyway, moving on. And there's a Gold Ranger.
And it's got Gold
he's
Ranger,
pretty cool.
who's my favorite Ranger.
Yeah.
And he is a classic Mighty Morphin Ranger that returns.
Yeah. And it's
But it's important to note that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
and it has all the best Zed and Rita stuff in the whole show.
No, it doesn't. Don't listen to him. So Zeo, kind of like Alien Rangers, does not hold up great. But there's really good stuff in it, and it's got a bad ending. I'm sorry to say, it's got a pretty rough ending. But it's important to note that all of this era is an extension of Mighty Morphin. So Zeo is Mighty Morphin Season 4, and Turbo is Season 5, and Space is Season 6. And
Yes.
you do have to look at it that way.
Yes.
Now, you could just watch all of Mighty Morphin and quit, but I wouldn't watch any of these other shows without having seen Mighty Morphin.
Without seeing at least a little bit of Mighty.
At least some of Mighty Morphin. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, when I give you my my kind of primer list later of episodes, I'll show you which ones I think you should watch before you see anything else.
Moving on. Turbo. Oh no.
Oh, and real quick, let me say, we're just looking at a website that has the DVDs, so don't be thrown off by the volume numbers. These are not in different seasons.
These are
So this is not
DVDs.
Turbo Season 1, Season 2. This is just volumes of DVDs that were released. This was the best list I could find that had any pictures with them, and I just wanted you to be able to see what the suits look like. So that's why I did that.
That makes sense. So Turbo is our first universally hated Power Rangers show, at least the first half. It's
And even with the better second half, it's wholly skippable.
it's a continuation.
much.
It's a continuation of season of Zeo, and it's car themed. If you like cars, I don't know. A lot of this is like if I was trying to get a kid to go get into Power Rangers, it's like this one's about cars, awesome. But if you're an adult, it's like okay.
Yeah, I don't figure
cars.
the theme will necessarily be the thing that grabs a 30-year-old trying to look at this, where it's like, these are the ones that are dinosaurs. Do you like dinosaurs? Like, we'll tell you which one, but that's why we're not leading with
half
that.
of them. So
Yeah, it's interesting. There are 4 dinosaur shows.
Yeah.
There are 3 car shows.
yeah, yep. And
Turbo, Operation Overdrive, and RPG. And
4
RPG,
ninja
RPM.
shows? Question mark. I think.
If you count
If you count
Season 3
Samurai.
Mighty Morphin,
Oh yeah.
I guess that would give you another one.
Yep. So Turbo, the best thing about Turbo is the villain, which is Divatox, and she's hilarious. Her fish henchman, I hate him. I want to punch his face. Don't worry about that. And then also, interesting thing to note, halfway through, Zordon's gone for a minute, and this. Oh no.
There's somebody else in the tube.
There's
That's all we'll
someone
say.
else in the tube. Yep.
Don't spoil that. If you go watch Turbo, I want you to be blindsided by the ridiculousness of that.
So halfway through, there's a passing of the torch again, and that's the cast that will stay through space. Oh, also, there's a Blue Ranger who is a kid who looks like an adult when he's morphed. I don't know either.
And I think it's important to note that every show up to this point has retained the cast from at least the end of the previous show, or at least most of the cast. This isn't going to be important to anybody, but like the end of Mighty Morphin and Zeo, we do have one member that we switch with Tanya, but then after that, we're getting closer and closer to we're going to switch the entire cast every season. And then after Space, that's what we do. And so with the premise change, we have a cast change.
Yeah. So, this cast stays for Space, except for the kid Blue Ranger, and then they get the Red Ranger gets shifted down to Blue, and then there's a new Red Ranger. They're in space. It's pretty awesome. This is the most lore we really get for like since this point. And it's the first very like it's one of the most serialized shows, I'd say, for Power Rangers, especially in the latter half of the series.
And it feels a lot more serious than anything we'd had before that.
Yes.
And it's the most mythology-heavy show up to that point. And overall, it's way up there. It's still in the top 5.
Yeah, I have to warn you that this is one of the couple Power Ranger shows where the story is somehow better than the cast.
I agree. And by quite a bit.
So I'll leave that up to you to see why. But
now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think Power Rangers in Space... Because I said the whole Zordon era, you kind of want to see the previous shows. Do you think Space is sort of watchable in a vacuum?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I know there are fans, and there were fans then, that were just into that show. Because it was kind of like a Star Trek and Power Rangers.
Yeah.
What makes it difficult is that it's bookended with a bunch of really cool fan service stuff, but I don't know that gets in the way or would make you confused. So I'm just saying, I would suggest watch at least some Mighty Morphin before you see Space, but of those 4 shows, and like obviously Mighty Morphin starts it, but like even 2 and 3, you probably want some of 1. Like I think of those shows, the one season that is probably most watchable in a vacuum is Space. Mm-hmm. I think.
And then you get to your first show that has a completely different cast. So this is Lost Galaxy. This is way more of a fantasy direction. And you have, I mean, like, how they get their powers is like friggin' Sword in the Stone. So like it's very fantasy.
We go straight from Star Trek to sword and sorcery fantasy.
Yeah. And but at the same time, it's got space stuff as well. The spaceship from In Space is still there.
Yeah.
And there are a couple episodes that go back to space, but besides that, it's its own show.
The Zordon era has technically ended before that, but it is still in the same continuity and an extension of it.
Yep.
Except you don't know that until you get part of the way through the show.
Yeah. It's like the second half of the show that's really like that. I love this show. I just want to point that out. And the Magna Defender is awesome.
You know, another thing we didn't mention earlier with the things that tend to grab people, I had a list of 4. I think the 5th thing probably should have been 6th Rangers. I think one of the things that will most determine which show is your Power Rangers show is if you really latch on to the special character that comes in halfway through and kind of takes the show over. Mm-hmm. It happens in almost every show.
Mm-hmm. I have to.
Space has one of the worst ones.
Yeah, so
even though I
love
that show. But Magna Defender is one of the best of those.
Again, Space is a good show with the worst 6th Ranger ever.
Maybe not the worst, but way up there.
Operation Overdrive is way up there. But, yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about Lost Galaxy. It has, its 6th Ranger is awesome, and, the first incarnation of him has the funniest thing ever. He has a whole arc in the show, and when every time he comes, he every time he shows up, he does this really slow walk into
it's great.
frame.
It's wonderful.
And it's awesome. Moving on.
And he's the Mandalorian before the Mandalorian.
Yes, he is. Moving on to Lightspeed Rescue. I also love this show. There are people who say it's meh. You just have to see for yourself. I'm trying to think. So this is I think this is the first Ranger team where their powers are known? Question mark. I'm pretty sure. And it's a lot of it's like one of them's a firefighter, and one of them's a police officer. It's that kind of thing.
Oh, you mean where they're established already?
Yeah, well, and people know who they are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're like Iron Man. They don't have a secret identity.
If I remember correctly, it's been a really long time.
They can just ignore that Zordon rule entirely.
Yeah. But they live underwater. That's another thing.
That is one of the few shows I've seen hardly a frame of.
Yeah, I gotta show you. I'll show you the big two-parter with the Sixth Ranger. The Sixth Ranger in that show is also really cool. He's the Titanium Ranger.
That's Titanium Ranger.
And there's a whole. There's a really weird two-parter that I need to show you where he's like almost gonna die because of a tattoo. It's awesome.
Oh, cool. I gotta watch that.
Yeah. There's like a tattoo of a snake that goes up his back, and if it reaches his neck, he dies.
Wow. So let me note for anybody that cares that we are technically now into a second era. Yeah. There are like 4 eras. So it's Mighty Morphin era, and now we're into just generically the Saban era, is what I think most people refer to it as. So obviously Saban had it during Mighty Morphin, but now we're into shows that aren't as connected to Mighty Morphin. Yeah. And can be watched again completely separately, and that starts technically with Lost Galaxy. So we're not 2 shows into that. Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, and then we get to
Time Force. Time Force is also universally praised. Maybe not universally, but it's praised.
Oh, nearly, yeah.
It's Power Rangers going time traveling. They live in a big clock tower, and there's a freaky robot owl. It's awesome.
It's loved as much or more so than Space.
Yeah, I would say more so than Space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jen Scotts is a big highlight character because she is our first. Besides Alien Rangers, she is our first female leader, and she's the first really like non-red leader except for Tommy's stuff. And yeah, well, even Gold Ranger's not really a leader, but yeah,
and Delphine, yeah.
Well, that's what I said. Was it apart from Alien Ranger? Because that's not a major character really, because the show's not about her.
Right. Yeah, I wish it was.
But we have a pink female leader, and she's cool.
Yep, she's awesome. I mean, she's really angry all the time, but
yeah, that's true. A lot of kind of romance drama in that show.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta watch through it again because
it's got a great villain.
I was 6 when I watched it. And it's not sticking with me. It's been 10 years, so.
But it's, I think, arguably, well, because I don't know Lightspeed Rescue, Lost Galaxy's pretty involved. I think, character-wise, story-wise, it's the most involved show since Space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And one of the most in general. And I think that if you're a sci-fi person, and you don't go to Space, Time Force might be a good in. That might be your first show.
Mm-hmm. Wild Force is... So, I have a love-hate relationship with the show.
I really thought you were going to say it twice.
Because... Wild Force.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going
to do. Wild Force. So, I actually really liked the show growing up. As like a 7-year-old. And it has some really cool mythology. It's another kind of fantasy-based one. It's animal themed, and there's a lot of cool stuff that they do with the Zords in it. But I don't know, man. I went back to a couple episodes recently, and it doesn't hold up.
Oh no!
Yeah,
but it does have Forever Red.
It does, yes. And I do like Cole. I will say that it has a good Red Ranger. The rest of the team is all right.
And I'll say,
yeah.
A bad Red Ranger can kind of break your show.
Yes, you can.
Because that's the leader of the team, and it's like if you don't like your starship captain.
Yes, you
like
can.
you kind of have to have a good one of those.
That's why, we'll get to that. We'll get to it.
Anyway, let's try to blow through these.
Yes, Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm is more of a comedic.
It's gonna be hard to do this in less than 2 hours, but let's do our best.
Let's do it. Ninja Storm is more of is the most comedic season of the show, and yeah, moving on. I don't know. It's also really liked. I personally, it's not one of my favorites.
But it's not like universally liked because some people just don't like the comedy in it.
Yeah, but it is the most.
And it's got a bad
funny.
CG guinea pig.
It does. It does. And
that's the start of the Disney era. So it is walking so the rest of Disney can run.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a prototype for the brilliance that is to come.
Yeah. And
there are missteps, but most of the rest of these shows are really good.
In Dino Thunder, which is interesting because it's like a mix of Ninja Storm and Mighty Morphin, where the comedy is dialed down a lot, but it's still the same kind of comedy, I feel like. The same kind of humor that's in Ninja Storm. But if you like what Mighty Morphin, like that Mighty Morphin feel, that Mighty Morphin era feel, going through space, you'll like this. Tommy comes back, it's dinosaur themed again. It's there's a lot of, it's got one of the best team dynamics.
And what's cool about it is it's got that, like you said, return to form for Mighty Morphin, but it's got more character dimension. Mm-hmm. And its characters are much more fleshed out, and they're allowed to change and grow a bit in a way we didn't do so much early on. It's got one of the best villains in all of Power Rangers. That's where a lot of the best drama comes from. He has one of the best villain motivations. It's not so generic. It's not just take over or destroy the world for no good reason. He's got much more of like a plan. It's got a fantastic aesthetic. And I think Dino Thunder is really easy to go to if all you've seen is Mighty Morphin.
Yeah.
And it was kind of sold that way with Tommy coming back.
Yeah.
And the idea of Tommy being a professor of, or a doctor of paleontology is preposterous.
It's
hilarious. And in the pilot, like watch that pilot for no other reason than you get to see Jason David Frank kick an animatronic dinosaur. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you get to SPD. And SPD is my favorite Power Ranger show, and this is the one that I go back to the most. It's we're back to science fiction Power Rangers. So a lot more science fiction elements. And
but it's not space based. It is planet based.
Yep.
It's got a lot of alien races.
So it's set
in the year 2025. Yeah.
Yep. And it's in a world where aliens and humans live peacefully together on Earth. And
so it's kind of Star Trek-y in that way.
It is, yeah.
It's like what you would expect a future of space of in space to be.
Yeah. But this is an Earth-based team, but they fight a lot of aliens. They fight only aliens. Yeah. So this is a police show. In the same kind of way that it's kind of if Lightspeed Rescue was in space. Like Lightspeed Rescue and In Space together.
Okay.
That's SPD. But way better than both of those shows in my opinion.
And I feel like it's Power Rangers Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's the best.
Like if space is their TNG or their Voyager.
Yeah.
Then that's their Deep Space Nine.
I think so. It's one of my favorite team dynamics. One of my favorite Red Rangers. Sixth Ranger, but one of the best Zordon kind of characters.
Yes.
In Doggy Kruger.
Watch it for that alone, and the special effects are really impressive.
And it's got a big supporting cast, and they're all really good. Like, you never care about, you know, the supporting cast past Mighty Morphin. Like,
And it's also just a lot more involved than a lot of these shows
and
are.
I love the costumes, and I love the lore, and the main bad guy is super scary. And yeah, so
I think it has a cooler status quo and premise than Dino Thunder. Dino Thunder is... So I think it is probably overall technically a better show than Dino Thunder. I still prefer Dino Thunder.
sure.
And some of it's also just what you're about. Like, Dino Thunder kind of perfects that high school thing.
Yeah.
And SPD perfects
That's
that...
not my favorite thing.
That science fiction future thing. Well, you know what? You could almost throw Time Force in there, too.
I like
it...
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Like when you said it feels like a cross... What'd you say? It feels like a cross between...
Lightspeed Rescue and In Space.
In Space, and then throw Time Force in there, too.
Yeah. I really like SPD because I like Power Rangers as a police force.
Yeah, and I had to really warm up to that idea.
I really like that idea. And yeah, it's just a super likable cast. and some of the best writing. And also it's universally praised. It's not just me. And then we get to Mystic Force, which also I have the same thing as it with Wild Force. It doesn't hold up as much for me. But it's another fantasy-based one. It's got another really cool Zordon-type character, and with Udana. And it's got some really cool lore. And it's got an alright cast. It's one that I don't remember as well, just because I never really went back to it until recently. But
that's when
it's another kind of
pilot, and that's about it.
They're in a comic book shop.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's pretty
Their
fun.
suits are cool.
Yeah.
They got capes.
Yeah.
Everybody likes capes.
And then Operation Overdrive. So this is another universally hated show. And it's the cast is just really bad. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know how they went from... Well, it really baffles me going from Operation Overdrive to Jungle Fury, but it baffles me going from SPD to Mystic Force to Operation Overdrive, because the Operation Overdrive, like, Turbo is a masterpiece compared to this. I'm not going to say that. Operation Overdrive is just a lot of blah.
Yeah.
And its Sixth Ranger is also universally hated, because he sucks. But I can't tell you a lot about this show because I watched it growing up, and I didn't even like it as a kid. I would...
But you have a helmet from that show.
I do, for some reason. So, this is the one that I would say, like, don't go from Mighty Morphin to this.
And apart from Once a Ranger, I've never seen a frame of that show. And I'm gonna do a watch party. I'm gonna stream something this week, and I'm thinking about doing that, just because I've never done it.
You gotta do it.
Just because I've never seen any of it.
Oh, man.
So I thought it might be fun to do a show called, like, let's stream the worst Power Ranger show.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
maybe
not.
some stuff in Neo Saban is worse than it, but anyway, we'll break the rest of this down for you.
Yeah. All right, let's go quickly. Jungle Fury is also awesome. Also probably top 3 Power Rangers for me. It's
Wow.
it's in a pizza shop.
With SPD and what else?
RPM.
Yeah.
It's set in a pizza place. Another really cool Zordon-like character. Another really good team dynamic. It's animal-based again, but it's not fantasy. It's more like... like mastering the arts of the techniques of the ancient whatevers, right? So it's a lot like Ninja Storm in that way, but a lot better.
Yeah, it's like mystical martial arts.
Yeah.
So it's not sword and sorcery. It's more like samurai or ninja. Like it's not a ninja show.
No.
Exactly, but it's very much about. It feels a little like Splinter and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just another...
With a lot of Karate Kid.
A lot of Karate Kid, and there's just an episode that just blatantly rips off Karate Kid, and it knows it.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like really early. Again, just it's a really good cast.
A neat villain reveal at the start.
Yes. More really good lore too.
Yeah.
And the foot soldiers go like this.
That's one I've seen a little bit more of than I have like a Mystic Force, and I really like what I've seen of that.
Yeah. For these Disney shows, it's more the team dynamics, I feel like, than the
premise.
The premise. And then
Absolutely.
And then you get to RPM where it is both.
Yeah, good call.
So RPM breaks a theme because
It breaks all the rules.
breaks all the rules. So the first rule it breaks is it's in a completely different friggin' universe.
Yeah.
Where they're in a dome.
It's a dome city.
It's Dome City, and it's crazy.
And AI has kind of destroyed the world.
Yeah. So
And
I can't get thoughts together.
There's a virus.
Yeah.
That killed everything outside of the dome.
Yep.
It's the like dark dystopian Power Rangers you never wanted, and then it ends up being really fun.
Yeah.
But also has some of the darkest, most twisted, screwed up stuff in Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And not even just for there's a couple things I've not seen that whole show. There's a couple things that happen in that show that are kind of dark for anything, like the implications of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is just dark for a kid show. This is screwed up.
Yeah.
There's some of that in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of Terminator Power Rangers in its way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. But another rule it breaks is it's the first it's the only car themed Power Ranger show to be really, really good.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and they have car sound effects when they run around and stop. They'll come to a stop with their feet and go, "Arr!" And
Yeah.
it's great.
That's I don't know.
You gotta have something cheesy in your Power Ranger show.
I do like. So this is another really good team dynamic.
Yes.
One of the best. Also
and
another
with,
really
and with
good
real
mentor.
and with real actors.
Yes.
Not just good acting for Power Rangers, actors that went on from this and went and did stuff. We won't break all that down, but that's probably the most professional cast of all of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be the last show. We should say Space has that ending that was supposed to be the very end of Power Rangers. RPM, the reason it breaks all the rules, the reason it's allowed to, is because Disney was trying to kill it, so they let them do anything they wanted to, and it was supposed to be the end of the entire franchise. This happens like 3 times.
Yeah.
There's somewhere else, I forget what, that was supposed to be the end of Power Rangers.
And I disagree with that Power Rangers actor. It has a really good theme song.
A lot of people don't like the RPM theme. I think it's fine. And then we get into Neo Saban.
Yes.
So it should have been
Saban
over.
buys it back.
Saban buys it back. They started over again, and their big mission statement is take it back to brass tacks and lean real hard into the Mighty Morphin formula and Mighty Morphin nostalgia. Mm-hmm. And so now every theme has to be the Go-Go Power Rangers again.
Yep.
And their initial team is kind of back to a Mighty Morphin thing where it's kind of a high school show again.
Yeah.
You even have like an Ernie's restaurant. You have a guy named Ernie again.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say this.
Isn't that Samurai or is it Megaforce that does the Ernie thing?
I think it's Samurai.
I thought that was Samurai.
I'm gonna say this. I can't tell you a single thing about Samurai. I've seen some of it. I don't actually think I've seen all of it.
I can tell you one thing about Samurai. They got the spin swords.
Yep.
They got the spin swords.
It's got Lauren Sheba.
It's got Lauren Sheba. And everybody likes Lauren Sheba.
Yep. Another female Red Ranger.
Not from the start, I don't think.
No, only in Super Samurai.
Yes.
Which is the second season.
And that's another thing Neo Saban starts doing is they'll break a season into 2. The second season has a slightly different name. It's all one show.
Yep. Yeah.
What?
I always laugh at the super thing, and you'll know why.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know. I know where you're going.
Yeah, so Samurai is, very back to basics, and it's I think it's just all right. The cast isn't bad at all, but
It will be.
yeah. Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
There's just a lot of different releases for this. I guess. And then we get into Megaforce.
Okay, so this is another. I just want to preface this. Universally hated, like
Universally
really
hated.
universally hated.
Yep.
So
and partly because it adapted a show everybody wanted to see adapted really badly.
yes. So, so you know how we were talking about how the Red Ranger is why a lot of shows are really good. This has one of the worst, and I'm really sorry to that actor. But one of the worst Red Rangers, like ever, maybe the worst.
In his defense, he wasn't happy with what he was given either.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more the writing than him.
Let's not get too in the weeds with it. But yeah. But anyway, what is Megaforce?
It's
besides the most generic sounding name that tells you nothing about it. It's the least descriptive.
Oh,
Zeo is not super descriptive, but if you saw Mighty Morphin, you know what that means.
Yeah. Oh, it's the most generic Power Rangers thing. Even I don't even know what the
there's no well the theme visually is pirates, but it becomes the elephant
in the second season.
But it becomes the elephant in the room because they never mention do they in the second season finally mention that they're pirates? That they even look like pirates?
Well, here's the thing though.
Oh, the first season doesn't have the pirate suits.
First season, so they adapt
for some reason Sentais in the same show.
Two completely different Sentais, and I don't know why. But the first season, I don't even know what the theme is. I don't even know what the theme is in. I can't remember what that show is called, but in the Sentai. But they get. I don't even know. I've seen this whole show like multiple times. I don't know why.
It's so generic it doesn't even stick with you.
Yeah, so there's this Gosei guy, and he's like, I need 5.
He's not just like Zordon, because like he's a face in a wall, which is funny because in 2017 makes Zordon a face in a wall.
He's just like Zordon.
But he's not just like Zordon, but he's also used to be friends with Zordon.
Yes. And there's an Alpha 5 character too.
Yes.
So I don't even know what to call that thing. It looks like a trash can.
Anyway, we gotta get through this.
Yeah, so Megaforce universally hated. The second season though does this really cool thing where the Sentai they had these like Ranger keys where you could turn into any previous Ranger.
Because that show sucked, but the merchandising was awesome.
Yeah, and so this adapted it, and it did the same thing.
Did you know that they still sell the Ranger keys in Japan?
Do they really?
That's still going now.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, that was the whole gimmick. The show still sucks, but
it was fun to see the Sentai footage with them morphing into previous suits. It was a big anniversary thing. It built up to a thing called Legendary Battle, which was supposed to be like the most epic Power Rangers fight. Was supposed to have a bunch of returning characters and cameos, and they really screwed the pooch on it. Nobody liked it. It ultimately did not really work out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big reunion episodes. That was one of the worst.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be really exciting and a big deal. Yeah, I'm sad to say. So yeah, we're not recommending that show.
Nope.
It's certainly not a starting place.
And the Dino Charge, I have nothing to say except for Blue Ranger's weird, and the it's the other one that's set in a different thing, different universe, and it's also Dino themed, and the Red Ranger's pretty good. And it
has a giant team. When you get to the end, it has 10
team.
Rangers.
I thought it had more than that, even.
It's 10.
It's 10?
I think there were more colors, but...
Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah, gigantic team.
It had a cool premise.
This at some point.
I liked their mentor. Okay. I watched the first season and liked it quite a bit.
I should do it, but I haven't.
None of Neo Saban I would really recommend starting with. Like all of the Disney shows, for the most part, I mean, the good ones that we mentioned, would be like find places to just go, maybe this is my show, and watch that show. I wouldn't say that for any of these.
Yeah.
There's one we'll bring up in a minute that I like more than the rest of them, but I still wouldn't start with it.
So the thing is, too...
Well, 2, I guess, but...
These are really made for kids.
Yes, that's a really important thing. And they were very popular.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But they're...
Which is crazy.
But they're not very accessible.
Especially Dino Charge was pretty...
Yeah. If you're not 7, they're not very accessible.
Yeah. And then you have Ninja Steel.
Which again had a cool premise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like. It's just, I just don't like. I don't like the
Ninja
team.
Steel had this neat idea where they're like televising fights with the Rangers as like a reality show,
Yeah,
and I liked that.
yeah. The bad
And
guys
isn't
are
that
not
Sledge? Isn't that?
bad. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
And people love that villain,
Yeah.
and he comes back a lot.
All of these shows run together at this point.
Okay, and then this site does not have the rest of them because I guess they didn't come out in video, so
Sure.
we'll just go through the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like
so
we know them.
you have Beast Morphers, which has 2 seasons, and that's the first of the Hasbro stuff.
And Beast Morphers made a big deal out of the Morphin grid,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a world where the Morphin where there's a there's a big corporation that is running everything,
Mm-hmm.
or is it government? I think it's a corporation that's running everything through the Morphin grid, and they're trying to see if they can use the Morphin grid as a power source.
Yeah.
And the idea seemed to be like we're questioning, is that a good idea or not?
Yeah. I
And
really like the show.
It has an awesome cast, and
Really like the cast.
it was another kind of reunion season where it pulled all the shows together a little bit more than some other things had, but it didn't have as much crossover as you expected it to from the
Yeah.
start. And they did this weird thing in it by the second season where it was all about cameos from props.
Yeah, from props. Yep.
So it wasn't there wasn't characters coming in. It was just, we've got Lord Zed's staff, and you're like, nah, that's
Awesome.
great. Where's Lord Zed? And then they finally did Lord Zed later.
Yeah. I'm trying to think too. It's closely related to RPM as well.
Yes, that's important to note. It gets real continuity heavy with the rest of the shows.
Yeah.
Finally, and it has the best Red Ranger in that era.
Oh yeah. It's the best Red Ranger since, honestly, it's the best Red Ranger since Jungle Fury.
You think so?
Yeah.
So of course that had 2 seasons,
Yep.
and then after
Second
that,
season's not as good as the first, but
and then after that you get to
Dino Fury,
yes,
which
not enough time in between dinosaur shows, if you ask me.
a good cast. It has 2 seasons.
And Dino Fury's weird because it kind of has 3.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Good cast, horrible writing,
Weak villain.
weak villain, and I don't love those suits. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I was never the biggest fan of them either. And then that's followed up by
Cosmic Fury, which is Dino Fury but in space.
and the same team.
Yeah.
And
So Lord Zed is the main villain.
And they take their Pink Ranger and they make her the Red Ranger.
Yeah, and
She's great.
this is
that's Amelia. I love her. I don't like Dino Fury. I like Cosmic Fury a lot. It's very strange.
This is a big kind of reunion for everything because this is the last season.
Of all of it.
So
It was just
think they did
Netflix. It
right.
was on 10 episodes. So it's kind of a miniseries. You can binge it. We did it all in one night and streamed it.
Yeah.
Which was great. It brings Lord Zed back as its villain, and his voice is weird, but it's a lot of fun. I think, and David Yost is awesome in it. They bring Billy back, and he's a big, major, important part of that show. And I think that of Neo Saban is really the only one to go watch after the Mighty Morphin era if you find yourself becoming a big Mighty Morphin era or a big Zordon era person.
Yeah.
And then we should mention, even before that, we had Once and Always.
Yes.
Which is not a show, it's a special, but it's in continuity with everything, and it's kind of the last big hurrah for Mighty Morphin.
Yeah.
So that should be mentioned. That's also on Netflix.
Yep.
And it brings back some of the original cast, but not everybody, for a big 30th anniversary reunion. Bring back Rita Repulsa as a robot who's trying to go back in time and give herself some pointers so she can rule the world quicker, or at all. They make the Zordon wave not happen, which I should have mentioned, because if you don't know Power Rangers, you won't know what that is yet. But anyway. But good job, Jason. So that's our breakdown for all the shows. Impossible to do that as fast as I would have liked to have. But.
Yeah. It's all right.
No, that's all right. But yeah, thanks for taking us through that. So now that we've done that, let me break down 5 strategies if you've made it this far for getting into Power Rangers. Now you know what all the shows are and kind of a brief history, so you know which ones are connected, which ones are more isolated. And actually, Jason, before we get into these strategies, would you, because I know you got notes on this, would you kind of go through which shows are more episodic and which shows are more serialized?
Yep.
And just kind of remind us of all of that, because we discussed some of that a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But now that we've given you all the shows, I think we should probably do this section real quick, and then I'll go to strategies.
Yeah. So the more episodic shows include Mighty Morphin, Turbo, Ninja Storm, Jungle Fury, Samurai, Mega Force, and Ninja Steel. And then the shows that are episodic but with a lot of overarching story development: Zeo, Lightspeed Rescue, Wild Force, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Dino Charge, and Beast Morphers. So that's a lot of them are like that.
Yes.
And then the shows that are more serialized are In Space, The Last Galaxy, Time Force, RPM, Dino Fury, and Cosmic Fury.
Okay, so first strategy is Mighty Morphin era. So if you start watching Mighty Morphin and you really like the aesthetic of that, you like the lore of that, or I can say Mighty Morphin era, Zoran era, like I said, that's the only era where there are 6 seasons that are all related and interconnected. And you could watch all of them, but there's a lot of kind of throwaway episodes. So I'm going to give you all of the episodes that I think you need, and I'll just kind of rattle these off, but I'll also put them in the description later, like I said. But for each season, I'll tell you which are the big lore episodes, and I think if you watch all of these, you'll have a really good, you treat this like a highlight marathon. You'll have a really good understanding of all of the major mythology and characters that are gonna pop up in the Boom comics if you were to go look at that, and which really fleshes out a lot of this mythology. Even if you don't want to read the comics, but you also don't have time to watch the entire show, and you just want to know enough to say, I know Power Rangers. Mm-hmm. For the Zordon era, this is the stuff to watch. I'm not doing this for any of the other shows, because the self-contained things, you're talking 35, 40 episodes. It's not like of half-hour shows. It's not a crazy amount to watch. We could have, for the shows that we really know, we could have done that for everything. Like, these are the shows that you really need to, the episodes you need to see to get all the major story stuff. But one thing to note is, especially by Disney era, you'll have episodes that otherwise don't feel all that important that will kind of tack on a big plot point somewhere.
Yeah.
So, Mighty Morphin Season 1. Pilot, Day of the Dumpster, Green with Evil, as we talked about earlier, the big 5-part Evil Tommy episode. Green Candle is a big 2-part Tommy Green Ranger episode. There's a lot of, oh no, he's losing his powers, and that's kind of the start of all of that. Doomsday, as I said, is the big, what should have been the finale for Season 1, and it's, I think, just the most fun thing in that show, but it has some of the big iconic fight stuff. And then some of these I put in brackets where you could skip them, but they are technically kind of important, have important story stuff in them. Return of an Old Friend is in the back 20, and that's where we bring Tommy back and make him part of the main cast again. If you don't watch that, he'll just show up in Season 2. It's not really all that important how he came back. But,
I didn't know that was in the back 20.
Yeah, it's in the back 20. And then Season 2, the first episode is a 3-parter, The Mutiny, that introduces Lord Zed, and it's the scariest he'll ever be. So check that out. Green No More is a spoiler alert. Tommy's going to lose his powers. White Light, spoiler alert, he's going to become the White Ranger. The Ninja Encounter I put in brackets. You could skip that, but that is the introduction to the characters that will replace 3 of our Rangers. Otherwise, they'll just show up out of nowhere in the Power Transfer, which you should certainly watch. And then you have, especially for Zordon's speech at the end, because it's funny. And then
and all 3 of us.
Then you get the wedding, where
Yes.
spoiler alert, a couple people you wouldn't expect to get married, and then in brackets I've got Return of the Green Ranger, which is kind of skippable, but is more fun Tommy drama, and it's kind of White Ranger versus Green Ranger. It's got Wizard of Deception. That's going to give you another kind of memorable bad guy character. You get into season 3, and you have, like we mentioned earlier, the 4-part Ninja Quest, which should have been the beginning of that season, but wasn't. They had a 3-parter before that is wholly skippable. That was kind of a backdoor pilot for another show that didn't take off. That was based on Common Writer with Masked Rider. Anyway, that's not important. But Ninja Quest is the changing to the ninja powers and introduces Ninjor, who is a very important character, created the power coins. In parentheses, I've got changing of the Zords, which I think you could skip, but that gives you the Shogun Zords, and those are going to become important after that. Different Shade of Pink is, spoiler alert, going to give us a new Pink Ranger finally, and she's great. Master Vile in the metallic armor introduces the Zeo crystals, and also Master Vile, who's an important villain, and Rangers in Reverse. I don't remember why I put this here. Oh, no, that's because that's the cliffhanger that gets you into Alien Rangers. And you do kind of have to have that, however you feel about it. In Alien Rangers, you've got only 2 episodes that are really important, which are kind of just the first and last. Alien Rangers of Aquitar at the start, and Hog Day Afternoon at the end. Then Zeo. I'm trying not to spoil too much because I'm giving you all the important lore stuff, but then also, if I tell you too much, you'll already know everything that would be the reason to go back and watch this. Zeo Beginning is the pilot for that show. It's another transferring powers episode, getting us into the Zeo crystals. No Business Like Snow Business is the... So I tacked this in. This probably should be in brackets. I tacked this in for... iconic character drama, because that is the Kimberly Dear John letter.
Oh God. Oh yeah. Okay.
So you could skip that, but that's going to give.
I didn't know that was in that episode.
But it's also the beginning of a major romance that is important for the lore of all of it, particularly if you go to comics. Power of Gold is the introduction of the Gold Ranger and the Triforians. And then there's a lot of gold stuff in here. That's kind of the big, like, fun, important story stuff in Zeo, and Gold Ranger is the coolest thing ever. Do I Know You, Revelations of Gold, and A Golden Homecoming are kind of a 3-part episode with different titles that are kind of the big Gold Ranger saga with Triforia, and bringing in a classic Ranger to replace Trey of Triforia. King for a Day, and Rangers of Two Worlds. I'm sorry, I've got another one before that. Ranger who came in from the Gold. I don't remember why I put that in there, but that's an important Gold Ranger episode, I guess. And then you've got so King for a Day is the 2-part episode where Tommy loses his memory. That's kind of a big the big Tommy episode for that show.
Love that episode.
And Rangers of Two Worlds is the penultimate episode that brings back the Aquitar Rangers, I believe, and is kind of setting up the not great finale. And then Good as Gold and The Season to Remember are together kind of the finale of the show. I said penultimate. I guess there's 2 more after that, but they kind of play like a 2-part finale. Then Turbo, I think, is wholly skippable.
Yeah,
but if you're going to... Yeah, what's up?
Why'd you put Ranger who came in for the Gold? That's the one where you have Louis Kaboom's Midas monster?
I think I mentioned that just because... Okay, that should be in brackets. You could skip that. I think I put that in there because Louis Kaboom kind of takes over for the villains, and you might be confused if you didn't see that.
I see.
Yeah, but... It's pretty skippable.
That's the one where Jayson just turns into gold.
I think I got too in the weeds with this. Yeah, skip that one. You don't need that one. Okay, so then Turbo, you don't need at all. Like, it's bad, and the only major thing that really matters is Divatox. And only really she's cool, but only really because she's going to show up a little bit in space. If you're going to watch it, though, the kind of story and lore highlight episodes are Shift into Turbo, which is the start of it. The actual pilot for that show is kind of the movie. Mm-hmm. You really don't need that.
It's the actual pirate Power Rangers.
Yeah, that's true. Millennium Message I put in here just because that's the introduction for Blue Centurion, which is a highlight of that show. Passing the Torch is the episode that brings in the new Rangers and is the start of the second half, which is much better than the first half. Phantom Phenomenon brings in the Phantom Ranger. I think the idea of Phantom Rangers is introduced at the start of the series, but like the actual Phantom Ranger that we come to know is Phantom Phenomenon. Then Fall of the Phantom is another big Phantom Ranger episode you could skip, but I think it's kind of important for him. Clash of the Megazords is just a cool Turbo episode where Divatox like makes the Megazords fight each other. It's kind of fun. And then Chase into Space is the finale that leads us directly into Power Rangers in Space.
Yeah, you know Turbo way better than me.
Now, Power Rangers, and I don't know it very well, but I was able to do that based on plot synopses because I remembered enough just from when I was a kid that I was able to put that together. And then Space, I wrote a lot of episodes because it is much more serialized than the other three, and there's a lot more stuff that you need to really piece all of the drama and cosmic stuff together. So, From Out of Nowhere is the start. Then Delta Discovery brings in the Delta Megazord. TJ's Identity Crisis.
Yeah.
I don't remember why I
Dark
put this
Lifter.
here. Oh, Dark Lifter. That's why that's there.
That should be in brackets, but it's awesome.
Flashes of Darkonda is, I think, just an important story episode. True Blue to the Rescue I put in brackets. If you watched Turbo, you'll probably want that because that's the one episode where Justin comes back, and it's actually his best episode in all of it, I think. Survival of the Silver is the introduction of the Silver Ranger. Zane's Destiny is there's a big revelation that happens in that episode for him. Always a Chance. I don't remember why I put that there.
No, that's Adam Park.
Yes, thank you. I always forget what that's called. I should have
the one that I know.
I should have written that in because I couldn't remember which episode that happens. But yeah, Adam has an amazing guest episode. Secret of the Locket and Ranger's Leap of Faith, just important story stuff. Dark Spectre's Revenge. Again, just
a cool title.
More story stuff. The Psycho Ranger Saga, some of the best stuff in Power Rangers. Watch all of it, 31 to 36. Starting with Rangers Gone Psycho, Ghosts in the Machine.
That's Psycho Rangers coming back.
Is the Return of the Psycho Rangers, that's what it is. And then Impenetrable Web is the setup for the end, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is Countdown to Destruction, and that is the big finale for the Zordon era. And is very epic as far as Power Rangers goes, and has a lot of great fan service, and it's just really exciting and some of the best stuff that they did. So that's all of Zordon era. And then if you really got into that and you wanted to know what Zordon era stuff happens after that, there are other things you can look at. I didn't write down every reunion episode. But Lost Galaxy has a Psycho Rangers follow-up that brings back an important character named Corone, who's going to be a ranger there. And then in Wild Force, you have Forever Red, which brings in most of the Red Rangers up to that point for a mission, and it's got a lot of Mighty Morphin stuff in it. Zed Zord Serpentera comes back. A lot of important stuff there. I just watched Dino Thunder, like pretty much in its entirety, if you really like Mighty Morphin, just because that's Tommy and you want to know where he went. But if you only watch a couple of things from Dino Thunder, just to have this kind of primer for all of this Mighty Morphin stuff, look at Day of the Dino. That's the pilot. Look at Back in Black. White Thunder, just because it's kind of the Green Ranger saga done again. And Fighting Spirit, which is the big episode that everybody remembers from that show, where it's Tommy fighting all of his old colors.
It's a really good episode.
Except for Turbo. Ninja Steel has Dimensions in Danger, which brings back Tommy with the Master Morpher, and a lot of people are really kind of obsessed with the Master Morpher thing. It's not a great episode, but
it's a horrible episode.
but it's kind of important.
Beast Evil Robot Tommy.
Beast Morphers gives us the one big return for Austin St. John with Jayson called Grid Connection, which isn't great, but he's fun in it. I really hate Goldar Maximus, but it's there. And then, like I said earlier, Once and Always. So those are the things to watch if you want to just know what you're talking about with that era of Power Rangers and if that really speaks to you. And I'll use that as a segue to get into my second strategy, which is getting into the Boom comics. That's also all the stuff that you really want to look at if you want to get deep into the comics, because it goes to a lot of that stuff, of just everything I just mentioned. That's a lot of the foundation for the stories they're going to tell there. If you don't watch everything I just said, watch a few Mighty Morphin episodes, and then just try the first arc or two of the Boom comics. You'll know enough to be able to keep going. All of the Boom series is worth reading, including... So you might want to just look at a little bit of the shows in order to immerse yourself in the comics. And if you do it that way, I will just recommend briefly the best stuff to look at with the comics. The main series with Kyle Higgins is good. Shattered Grid is the big event that with Draken that everybody was kind of obsessed with. You can read it on its own, I guess, if you wanted to. Go-Go is the most character-driven and accessible series until you get after Shattered Grid, and then it kind of just becomes more of the main series in its approach. But that will give you the character dimension and progression that you're maybe missing a little bit from Mighty Morphin. I really want to just hand people Go-Go and say, if you've never seen Power Rangers, this is the Power Rangers you'll love. But the problem is it doesn't really have much of an ending. And so it's hard to do that now. But when it came out, that's what I wanted to do, was just hand everybody that. So I wanted to mention that. But yeah, you've got Mighty Morphin, you've got Go-Go. Eventually, it splits off into 2 books called Mighty Morphin and then Power Rangers, where you have the 3 original Rangers that leave in Season 2 that go off, and instead of going to a peace conference, they become the Omega Rangers. And that stuff's really great. We get, during that period, finally an origin for both Zed and Zordon, which is wonderful. So check that stuff out. And the only big thing of the main books, there's side stuff that you don't necessarily have to look at, and there's good side stuff certainly. But the main thing I would say skip is Beyond the Grid, which is the arc right after Shattered Grid, because it's boring, and because if you haven't watched everything, you will not know what you're looking at.
Even if you have watched everything.
There are anthologies and one-shots that involve the non-Zordon era, and you can just go look at reading lists to find those and watch the ones that are related to the shows that you like. A lot of them stand alone, and you don't have to necessarily read anything else. You just have to know the show that they're based on, and also know that the main series goes to Power Rangers in Space a lot. So you definitely want to know that show. Another strategy, as I alluded to earlier, would be using Power Rangers as a supplement to gaming. Let Power Rangers just be the backdrop for games you play. There are some really great, more adult-leaning games, including Heroes of the Grid, which is the miniatures board game from Renegade Studios. It just ended, but a lot of its content is still easy to get your hands on and is now much cheaper than it ever was before. It is like 40% off on their website, everything they still have in stock. It's going out of stock. They're not going to print anymore, but you can get it right now. You can get it on eBay, you can get it on Amazon, and it would be difficult to build a collection of all of it at this point. But especially if you get into Mighty Morphin, just get that base game, and it has plenty of material if you just want to play casually. And then if you start getting into it, and I want to do another video about Heroes of the Grid soon too, is kind of a retrospective for that whole game. Yeah. But just look at a list of all of the releases and buy the stuff that's related to your favorite shows, because there is representation of some kind for every single season of Power Rangers in it, and you can build a collection based on what you're interested in. And you can also, with some of these games, look at stuff in them and go, that looks interesting, and then go check that show out. Battle for the Grid is a fighting game that is still being supported, that has a lot of Rangers and characters from all of the shows. It's still Mighty Morphin heavy enough, but it's got stuff from everywhere, and you might play as a character in that and go, this character seems kind of cool, and then go check that show out. Legacy Wars is a phone game that has like everybody you've ever heard of in Power Rangers practically, and including the 2017 movie. You can play with a character in that and go, that looks interesting, and go check that out. So I think it's very easy to use. Like I said, the show is more of a jumping off point for other stuff to go do. And that has become more and more my end, which is why I mentioned it. I'll mention this as another possible strategy, and it's hard to say, like, precisely exactly what to look at, but I want to mention that one thing that brought a lot of people into Power Rangers, especially back in the day when I was a kid, was just martial arts. And you might like watching Power Rangers just because of the fighting, and some shows have more honest-to-God martial arts than other shows. And Mighty Morphin, of course, has a lot of out-of-the-suit stuff and, like, the actual actors doing, like, martial arts. Dino Thunder has a decent amount of that as well. And then past that, what shows would you suggest for martial arts?
Choco Fury. I mean Ninja Storm, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Mighty Morphin is really good for that.
And then the last thing is, if you don't want to listen to what I'm saying about Mighty Morphin and you just want a singular show that's like 35, 40 episodes, that is pretty narratively compelling, again, for Power Rangers, and you just want to try that out, the smartest and most narratively compelling shows are as follows:
Lost Galaxy, Time Force, Dino Thunder, SPD, Jungle Fury, and RPM. Which are also the more universally praised shows anyway, so.
And that's pretty much our advice. Jayson, are there any other points about any specific series that you didn't get to as we went through that you wanted to mention?
I think really just like, if you are getting into Power Rangers because you like big monster fights,
yeah,
watch Mighty Morphin. If you like
you want it for more the Godzilla thing.
And like maybe Wild Force.
Yeah, yeah.
If you like, although I think they're all CG in that. So.
Yeah, that's not great.
I think that's the first one.
If you want physical suits,
yeah,
you want to watch any of the seasons before that.
Yes. If you
and you do want physical suits.
Yes, you do.
You just do. You do.
You do. If you like science fiction, watch In Space, watch Time Force, watch SPD.
Yes. RPM too.
And RPM. Yep. If you like cars, watch RPM. If you like fantasy, watch Lost Galaxy, watch Mystic Force, watch Wild Force.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want a more comedic show, watch Ninja Storm. That's basically like, and then yeah, any of the other things that we talked about, if that seemed interesting to you, even like, you know, Operation Overdrive. I mean, if you like cars, if you like really, I don't know,
if you like bad acting, if
you like Thrax,
I mean, oh no, and let me reiterate, if you want to become a big Power Rangers fan, you know, somehow as an adult, and you didn't grow up with it, or you didn't grow up much with it, you don't have to see everything. Mm-hmm. Most of us haven't. This is a fandom where it's really easy to pick and choose, and still find people to talk to.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Okay, we tried to be as thorough as we could. Hopefully, like I said, we didn't lose people too much. It's hard to break down all of those shows in a timely fashion, but I think we did as well as we possibly could have.
Yeah.
Jayson, thanks for helping me out with it, man.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, leave a comment, and we'll take a look after the fact. I'll try to put my kind of highlight marathon for Zordon era in the description. And in the meantime, we appreciate you watching. Thanks, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get going. Thanks for leaving comments. We tried to interact with folks some here and there. I guess we haven't done it in a bit. Let me mention a couple things real quick. Nicholas Bodo is Mesogog in Battle for the Grid. He's not, unfortunately. I don't really know how he would have operated in a, because like Mesogog doesn't really run around, like Zeltrax could have been in that. That would have been good.
We have a couple of super chats.
That I didn't hit.
Yeah,
I thought I got them all. I thought I got them all earlier. Sorry about that.
$5 from Senior Sticks.
Oh, that's right. I did miss those. Sorry about that.
Could have Power Rangers in Space have had a second series before Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and could Power Rangers in Space have worked well in Boom? Well, there's a lot of space in Boom.
Yeah, there is a lot of space in Boom. Now, I will say, let me answer that second thing real quick. I would say that of all of the shows, Space is probably the one that would most have a chance at in ongoing that people would actually buy. Mm-hmm. Could it have had a second season? I think it just got everything done it wanted to get done. I think you would have been dragging things out too hard if you'd done a second season of Space. Yeah. Like, you could have had that crew go somewhere else and do something else, I guess. But you wouldn't have wanted to extend the story they were doing to 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they just kind of fly off together at the end, you're like, well, they're clearly more adventures they're going to go on. If you'd done that, you know what you probably should have done? You give it 4 or 5 years, you come back to that same cast.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
But you'd have to adapt from some of their Sentai and have an excuse for them changing outfits. Like, this time it's going to be based on an actual space Sentai and not a video game Sentai.
Yeah. And then 5590 words.
Yep.
$2. Favorite Tommy suit, green, white, red, or black?
It's always going to be white for me, but I'm a big fan of the Brachio suit, the black suit.
I like Turbo. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I love Dire Rangers so much that I would have to say white. But also Draken.
Oh, sure.
Is a really good suit. It's kind of insane, but it's...
Well, I didn't mention this, but the comics have some of the coolest designs of anything. Yeah. Like, if you get into the series... Some people just aren't big comics readers, but, like, really look at the comics. Because that's where the stuff for, adults and middle-aged people are.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. And we will see you again with lots more geek stuff here on Geekvolution. I'm hoping to do at least 1, if not 2 more Power Ranger streams this week. So join me for that. Especially if you're a big Power Rangers person. And if you don't know much about Power Rangers and you listen to some or all of this, I really appreciate you. And I hope that you got something out of it. In the meantime, I was Captain Logan.
And I was Jayson.
Bye, folks.